There's an old saying, when it rains, it pours. Is that really true? That term usually relates to times when people have bad luck or something bad happens and all of a sudden everything falls apart at once. And I think I've used that term so many times. Is it really true? We act as if when one bad thing happens, then everything coalesces around us like water around a drowning human. Like there's no way out. Like there's constantly something coming at us from every direction. Is it true that maybe we play the victim, therefore we cause part of our own suffering? Is it true that maybe we assume things are worse than they really are? For me, I try to always think positive, whatever that's worth. I try to always find the, silver lining in any situation. It's the lessons that I've been taught and taught myself about life. The things that have worked for me over the last couple decades is seeing things differently through a different lens. You might say rose colored glasses, but you know what? I think that the reason why people use that term is because they're often jealous that a person is able to even see things in a positive light because they haven't figured out how to do so themselves. So this morning I woke up, for example, and it's been already kind of a rough month. You know, my wife was sick. She hardly ever gets sick for a couple of days and missed work. And then my son's sick today. He woke up, he's been puking and had a headache. And I got up to go to work and said, I'm going to fight through this day. And got in my car and started driving. And my car started going, choom, choom, steering wheel and like pulling to the right. And I'm not going to get into what it could have been or would have been. It felt like kind of a bent wheel or a bad brake pad or something. So I'd recently bought brake pads. I took off my wheel. I stayed home from work, took off the wheel. The brake pads were like brand new. My car was out of commission for a couple of years, and I forgot that I'd replaced them right before I got the car. So I assumed that the brake light and the wobbling was due to brakes needing to be replaced. But no, that wasn't the issue. Nothing wrong with the wheel, nothing wrong with the rotors. Yes, I could replace everything. The point being that while I was at it, I changed my oil. That needed to be done really badly. But I thought, okay, here I am preventing something from horrible from happening in the future by trying to make sure my car is taken care of. The fact it was wobbling, a person could say, oh, well, that's horrible that you had car problems, right? Oh, it's bad luck. But in fact, these things happen to all of us. The question is, can you see it as good luck? In the sense that I'm glad that I got a sign of what was going on before something worse happened. That's the silver lining. Such as when your oil light comes on, and that's better than your car seizing up because it has no oil. I'm not saying I didn't have oil, that's not the issue. I do take care of my automobiles somewhat. But I tend to be a procrastinator on things. And why I'm bringing that up is because it's important to acknowledge that a lot of the problems that we face in our lives and a lot of the things we consider to be bad luck really are self-manifested luck. If you want to call it bad, that's up to you. Maybe it's not luck at all, but self-manifested situations. Hi, Lucy. Lucy wants to say hi. Say hi, Lucy. What's up, girl? Self-manifested situations that happen when we are, living our lives and we sacrifice certain things in order to obtain others. We choose to not be responsible for a couple of years because we want to go out and party, and then we end up regretting that later. Or we spend our whole life not partying and regret not partying. One way or the other, we're always trying to do the best things for ourselves, hopefully, in our lives. And when our routine, our rituals are broken, we consider that bad luck. And it really is that simple. Quite often, when something bad happens, in any other context for a different person, it might not be a bad thing. Some people thrive on pain, for example. Some people thrive on chaos and conflict. Think about drama queens and kings, if you want to call them that. I guess these days there are a million terms for people who are always seeking out some sort of a problem or drama, always looking for something wrong with people, with others, always pointing out the flaws in society. And look, I point out plenty of problems, plenty of things I'd like to talk about, but they don't bother me physically. And it's a big difference between talking about a topic because it's interesting and actually becoming so immersed in it that you allow it to affect you physically. Because if you're affected mentally, let's say you sit and watch the news 24/7 on television, watch Fox News or CNN or something, and that's where you get all your information, you're probably going to think that the world's a pretty fucked up place. And because of that, you're probably going to be a little more withdrawn and reserved about your opinions on certain groups of people. You're going to have your own set ideas about what's true and what's not, just like everyone else. But they're based on the whims of someone else. And the reason why that matters is because to lead a conflict-free life is impossible. We're always going to have some sort of an issue that comes up, and we're going to have to deal with it. That's just life. But we don't have to be so pushed around by events. They say that there's people that life, people that live their life and people that have life live for them. It's like the old idea that if you don't have your own ideas, then they will be kindly presented for you. So by deriving as much information as we can from every topic, every situation, we start to see that a certain amount of knowledge about the world around you, however difficult it may be, you might actually have to read words on a page, and I'm not saying that offensively to any of you, but a lot of people don't read. And I never want to blame the younger generations because they're only doing what they know is best. But I've found that and read that a lot of, a vast majority, like 60 to 70% of younger people, Gen Z and Gen whatever, the teen to 20-year-olds get like most of their news, or all of their news rather, from the internet, which is fine. But when they say the internet, you get deeper and you find out that they mean that they hear about it on Instagram or TikTok. These aren't people who are going out and looking for actual data. But it's just not an age-based thing. Plenty of people, when you confront them with evidence, say, well, here's a respected scientific journal article, or here's a respected commentary by a Nobel Prize-winning, author, and people don't want to hear it. They don't care. We're at a point where data, information, and facts don't matter, and people are wrestling to be the right one, instead of just being right for all of us. I can't recall who said it, but maybe it was Alan Watts. He said, it's not about being right. It's about all of us being right. So for a lot of the people out there arguing the truth, we're doing it from, and I say we're because I consider myself one of those people that wants to share the truth, but I'm humble enough to know that it's only the truth as I know it. And I'm not going to pretend that I know what's best for all of you. All I can do is present ideas that have worked, and often those revolve around seeing the best in people, seeing the best in situations, not getting angry at the wrong person because you're upset about something. And every time I consider any of these aspects of life, it comes down to emotional intelligence, something that the more you study about what emotional intelligence really means, put it this way, if you've never heard the term or have never looked into it, I would highly urge you to, when you're done with this video, go Google emotional intelligence, or rather maybe use Bing. Use something. You've got to use the search engine, right? But go to the second or third page. Find people who are talking about, I guess there's nowhere to really get, there's nowhere I can point people to get accurate information. But I would just say emotional intelligence, if you're a well-rounded scholar on topics, is probably the most important thing. If a person without emotional intelligence, it's a huge, wide topic. But one of the most critical ones that I could point out as an example is the kind of person who you might be able to talk about deep life topics, but the minute it gets into something really deep and intense that's personal or about, your relationship with them, whatever it might be, they instantly shut down. They go into defense or offense mode, rather, and they start attacking you, giving you ad hominem attacks, telling you you're worthless, making claims about your life in order to deflect from actually having to interact with that type of feelings. And so that's not to say that people who deal with their feelings are any better, because a lot of people really let it go too far. They feel like they're a victim for everything. They want to cry about everything. And that was the main focus I wanted to make on this video. The main point I wanted to make was that we all face shit. When it rains, it does pour sometimes. Doesn't matter why it happens, but we honestly really just want to get past it, and some of us can do it with a smile. Some of us can be fucked up in our heads or in our bodies, have serious ailments or deaths in the family or whatnot, and continue to persevere. And you'll see a person making a video like I am right now, just talking about their life, right? And you have no idea what kind of suffering they may have gone through personally. But a person is, easy to judge and be like, oh, they've got an easy life. They're a YouTuber, right? That kind of attitude. Or a movie star or a musician or whatever it might be. Not realizing that every single human being has a complicated life. It reminds me of a video I watched from Vsauce. Vsauce, Michael here. And he said, one of the words he tackled was called sonder. And sonder, apparently, as it sounds, S-O-N-D-E-R, is a word to describe that moment when you have the realization that every single person around you has a life that's as deep, as rich, and complex as your own. And I feel like today we're losing that. A lot of folks have this attitude of the NPC attitude, right? I've got a gamer son. I watch some of the shit where I hear people like using terms that just NPC is a non-player character, when you're playing a game. And the idea of an NPC, if you ever hear that, just means that it's a person who's just not really all there. Or maybe to the extent that some people believe they really live in kind of an illusion, that they're the player in their own game. And there's a term for that too, that they're a player and everyone else is just an NPC and that they're the only one that's real. It's kind of a metaphor. It's not literal, but it's important to realize what this means, that folks aren't taking the time to emotionally integrate themselves into the world to where they can have real conversations with people about real issues. So what they do is they get trapped into the surface conversations. Hi, how are you? How is the weather? The weather is great. How are you? Have you heard about that thing on the internet? I've heard about that thing on the internet. Wow, that was really neat. Yes, it was. Wow. Okay, I'll see you later. It's this very surface kind of, tackling of topics. Maybe people need more psychedelics. I don't know what it is, but it's it's a crazy world to live in. And I would say that I just want to make a little mark in even one person's life to say, don't listen to what other people have to say about what's important or what's real, what's true. And I've been on both sides of the fence. You have to believe a certain amount, but you don't have to believe everything and all the bullshit you hear from other people. It's important that we build and integrate our own realities. So this has been a long video. I was going to try to make it short. I know some people like the longer format, others like the 5-minute videos. I feel like a shorter video conveys this a lot quicker. Maybe I should do like synopsis videos, but I made one the other day that was called Balloons and Eggs, and it was about the spy balloon and the price of eggs and how every week there's some new, the weekly newscasts, and you're just like, oh my God, it's so ridiculous, and how people get suckered into worrying about shit that really doesn't matter and thinking about things to distract them from maybe things like the U.S. blowing up the Nord, 2 pipeline, that where the CIA went over and actually detonated fucking explosives on a pipeline that went to Germany from Russia as a pretext to kind of push Russia's buttons, or what's really going on in China with the wars, with the circuits and computer chips, and in Taiwan. It's an absurd world we live in right now, and we get way concerned with bullshit that doesn't matter. It's interesting, it's good to study, but we should really be focused on who we are, our emotional intelligence, our awareness of the world around us, because ultimately life's short, it goes by fast, and we want to be the best person we can be. So that's my message. Thanks for listening. My name is Carpo, or Joshua, and this has been a presentation. I would like to thank today's sponsor, Nature. I'm able to sit outside again. This is beautiful. It's only like 50 degrees. I'm still cold, but it's nature, man. And I'll be doing a lot more summer videos. So since that sponsor doesn't pay me anymore, you're welcome to check out my Patreon, where I'll be uploading more stuff shortly, and I'll talk to you soon. Be well. Howdy ho.